I am also hoping. Well, I'm not hoping either team wins. I'm just hoping for a good old-fashioned game of League of Legends, really.
Oh, okay, that's a very neutral response. I respect that.
Well, I want to see the Aurelia do well, honestly. I feel like that champ adds so much excitement to a game. Seeing it a bit more often in draft could, you know, add a bit of variety.
This is very feast or famine. Maybe the most feast or famine champ in the game right now. I think the jungle matchup we're kind of talking about before, how Viego, you know, kind of can look to just farm. But I think Viego, Aurelia, you know, very strong 2v2 as well as Viego Talia, right? You have the potential to kind of one-shot anyone in these lanes. So I wouldn't expect Hollow to spend a lot of this game just full clearing his jungle. I think really does want to be active on the map, essentially has ganks it up in all 3 lanes. So I think you'd be kind of doing your team a disservice to just be putting the camps on cooldown. Looks like both junglers are going to start topside. Is potential perhaps for some kind of 3 camp into top gank, depending on how the waves end up. Otherwise, it can be back towards this bot lane. I think one thing I just want to quickly appreciate is how much the bot meta has opened up recently. Gone are the days of just trading Zeri, Yumi / Lulu up against Lucian, Nami every game. It's good to see some variety.
Yeah, well, Aphelios has kind of been out of the meta for a while now, so it's exciting to see him. It's not overly exciting when he's a complete mainstay, as we see solo kill, just doing fun Aurelia things and already sort of winning out the health trade top. He does have that Doran's shield as well, so we'll sustain up a bit more than rest.
The trade is decent, but the wave state isn't amazing. Both junglers are on the other side of the map. Solo kill, though, I don't think he can look to pressure this too much. Instead, probably just wants to crash and play for the bounce. Have the wave crash under the tower, and then look to freeze it not long after. Rest, I think the wave is too big to hold, so it's unfortunately going to let it crash. And this is when things get scary against Aurelia, is when that wave pushes back out, and you're forced to kind of move up to the wave. And she's just so good at chasing you down.
Yeah, it's very hard to play. If you are that Gnar, I think you can walk up if you see a minion wave coming because it allows you to get that sort of double jump. But yeah, if Frank can find where this Vi is and allow solo kill to really pressure this top lane, I think you've got yourself in a really good position. Hollow will be spotted out, but Vi so far not seen.
Not sure what Hollow is looking for here.
I thought maybe he's looking to put his ward down, but decided against it after seeing Aphelios head up that way.
Is crossing back to topside already and has cleared most of his jungle.
Yeah, probably just going to take that scuttle and then the Krugs. I believe by this stage, as we do see a little skirmish down bot lane, I'm not sure if Gemini has yet been seen, but now that you're at the scuttle crab top and you don't see the Vi, you're probably safe to assume that this Aurelia is free to play as she'd like.
The wave's in a very good spot, and Rest has his jungler on the other side of the map. Has to be very, very careful here.
Yeah, playing very far up. Does have that ward. As Aurelia's just checking for any potential lane ganks to answer from this Vi, although Hollow returning to his Raptors now.
Yeah, Rest needs to do his best to crash this wave if he can, but it's so risky until your jungler pass back on top. At the same time, I think Gnar is one of the better champs at just kind of farming from range. As we do go into a pause. One thing I didn't notice, by the way, was the cull actually picked up on the Aphelios.
Oh, true, yeah.
Playing towards a bit of the scaling.
And you will sort of have an okay time in this bottom lane so far, as long as you can dodge out of the sort of Zenith Blade, obviously having range versus melee support matchup. And also, first strike on Annie, are you surprised by this at all? I feel like it's not too easy to proc against the Talia.
Not super surprised. There just aren't great keystones on Annie at the moment. Really, your options are you can go Spellbook, which is kind of nice because you can get the likes of Ghost in team fights, obviously, or the Ignite for some level 6 all-in, but not super consistent overall. Other things, I mean, maybe something like the Electrocute, but it feels like because you're not really winning your lane super hard as Annie in competitive, just having the first strike scaling is nice, especially I think when people are going towards Rod of Ages, really trying to kind of play for what is more like a 1-item spike or a 2-item spike as opposed to a bit early. So it's a stylistic choice.
Yeah, and we are paused due to a mic issue. It should be just a short one and we should be back into the action soon. But I think how the game is looking right now, I feel like we are going to see some fighting up in top. I mean, at some stage, Gnar really has to get to that wave. As we go back in, we're looking here at bot. And, I mean, not terribly surprising to see these two pushing in early. I feel like, I mean, as Xayah gets items, she will just start instantly killing this wave, as well as Leona getting a bit of tankiness to survive harass. Hollow coming around top, though. Rest does have to play careful. Solo kill does go in. Gemini hanging around in the wing.
Rest trying to bait. Really nice by Gemini to be here, though. So Rest, he has managed to survive when the lane was pushed out to Aurelia. Obviously at a CS deficit here, but has a lot of CS to pick up.
Yeah, if he can get most of this, it should be fairly even.
I think really nice by Rest to make sure you survive that. It's so common that you die to Aurelia there, but willing to go down just a bit of CS, kind of make sure that everything ends up working out.
Xenoblade is landed now onto Slaytrue, rooted in position. Will get that ult go off, E go off, and he does go down. First blood to Kaiwing.
Just a straight 2v2 kill.
Yeah, and as I said, you sort of win out on this bot early unless you get hit by that Zenith Blade, and we see there, Xayah obviously one of the best champs at follow-up CC on a stunned or impaired target. And yeah, huge there for bot lane.
Especially since Slaytrue used both of his sums and still died, right? Both the Frank Esports bot lane still have their flashes. They used Ignite and Cleanse, but that's completely fine. Let's take a look at the replay. I think Slaytrue was probably just a bit too far up. I don't think you need to give this much range. It felt like it didn't even really... It was just for a couple autos, right? It didn't even really do a whole lot, but was just engaged on taking out. Flash couldn't have really come out any earlier. It was pretty much just locked down. Perhaps should have just saved it, ultimately.
Yeah, really good cleanse there by Eminem. I didn't even notice that while the fight was going on, so... Well played in general there by Frank, and they've got themselves to an early advantage. And as we previously sort of touched on, both of these teams really, really good in the early game, and that's how, I mean, you expect whatever team that sort of wins early here is likely to win the game. Obviously not too much of an advantage yet.
It is always interesting seeing two really good early games. Oh, Slaytrue doesn't have flash.
Yeah, nice flash. Zenith Blade lands there, as well as the follow-up knock-up. He will be going down here, so another fantastic find by Kaiwing, and he's really getting this team ahead.
It's a great start for Kaiwing. That's why people say he's one of the best, if not the best, support in the PCS. And as I was saying, I think it's real interesting when two early game teams come up against each other, because there's a couple outcomes. You can either have, just nothing happens early because no one can find their inch, or something like this where just two teams that are naturally volatile, it starts to swing in one team's favor. And Frank Esports now having a 2-0 lead and picking up this first drag. It's almost everything CFO are known for, right? Picking up those first dragons extremely early, as well as snowballing around the bot side.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even remember the last time I watched CFO and they didn't get first dragon. It might have even been recently, honestly, but I certainly don't recall.
There's a nice pickup there. Frank Esports, they, I believe, earlier in the split, not sure if they still do, but led the league at some point for gold difference at 15. It's certainly looking like it's going to be in their favor this game.
Nice stun there by Aurelia, but you can't really all in it full health, as well as those Ninja Tabis now picked up for rest, so makes this lane all that more survivable. Although you do really have to be careful when Solo Kill picks up the Blade of the Rowan King he's inevitably going for.
Ward does spot out Hollow, and Gemini is in the top river, just dropping a little bit of vision. Hollow pinks out the Herald, which is kind of interesting. I guess he just wants to make sure if it does get started up, is going to have time to react.
Yeah, looks like it is started here by Vi. Although just will leave it. Hollow spotted out on a ward. Gemini might not have been seen.
Ooh, Gemini narrowly dodges the gank. Side of Frank Esports has to know that Gemini is on this. Looks like the option will instead be to trade. We see Hollow moving towards that bot side.
What can you... I guess you're just going to get some plates here on the Xayah. And honestly, we saw this last game. If you can get sort of more than 2 plates onto the Xayah, or 2 plates even, then you've essentially just neutralized the Rift Herald, right? Unless somehow you could find a tower with this Rift Herald, but none of these lanes are kind of ever going to be in that position. Man, CFO have to be careful here.
Yeah, they're getting zoned off the tower. They know the jungler's on the way, so can just look to play slow. Tower did take a bit of damage, but it was only 1 play. And remember now that you do get pretty significant gold just for picking up the Herald, but certainly the gold is better used on an ADC than a jungler, right? So even though I feel like the gold trade was pretty even, I'd say slightly favors Frank Esports, and we'll have to see where that Herald ends up being used. Both mids opting for the Catalyst build. Lots of scaling.
Yeah, Rod of Ages, Annie, is it? Traditionally what you see on Annie? I feel like you often see more of a bursty build.
Recently, it's pretty much all been Rod of Ages. Oh, Slaytrue.
Yeah, Slaytrue walking that bush, not playing very well here. Does go down. Shun also gets stunned up there, but will cleanse and get away. But that's Slaytrue's third death. Not the exact same way, but just blindly walks into a bush and gets queued by Kaiwing. And
yeah, finds himself at 0-3, which is not at all what you expect from the CFO bot lane, right? Actually, CFO bot lane, one of the stronger bot lanes in the league, especially in the laning phase, but now starting to fall very far behind. And I almost want to say that most of the deaths were pretty unnecessary, right? They were very easy to avoid. And it isn't the biggest gold deficit.
Gnarled is used.
Ooh, Rest has to be careful without this ult and lots of members nearby. Solo kill is full build with the Vamp Scepter, so he can just look to lifesteal back up.
I think not quite full build in terms of a 1v1 though, possibly waiting for that Blade of the Ruin King, but when he does hit that, there's not really much of a good way for this Nah to ever fight solo kill. Will always sort of require another person hanging around. As Rest is going forward, maybe baited in by the miss of that stun, doesn't land the double jump, extremely low, flashed on, and will go down to the W of Aurelia.
Big pickup there, especially that it goes to Aurelia. I think really, really nice.
As we see Pretender here, stunned up in that middle lane. Will get away, Tibbers is used.
Top lane was 3 flashes used overall. Let's see the replay. So I think Rest, after noticing that Aurelia had used stun, really wanted to punish the cooldown, right? Makes sense for the 1v1, but really have to consider the fact that your jungler's in bot river, and you don't have any info on their jungler, because now just can't get out. Did try and flash, but ultimately double flashes committed, and double ults from the side of Frank Esports is enough to pick him up.
And I feel like even though she used stun, you saw how much damage Aurelia was able to do there, even without it. Just with the use of ult and then Q, almost takes down Rest entirely. I think all Hollow contributed in that was a Q. He flashed and landed a Q, or possibly his ult, but I don't think his ult hit. I think that was just to get into range. But you've got a really hard matchup in that top lane now that you have Blade of the Ruin King on Aurelia. Both mids do finish Rod of Ages. As Rest is just getting queued on, doesn't even need to land the stun anymore, does Solo Q.
Frank Esports kind of running away with the game right now. Again, the gold lead isn't huge, but they're about to pick up their second dragon at only 12 and a half minutes. And I think every lane but mid is already in Frank Esports' favor. And even mid is completely fine. Both of them are very strong scaling champions, so don't really have to worry about it. In fact, you might even say that Talia scales better than Annie, just due to the range. And 2 dragons picked up by Frank Esports here so early is, I think, really, really good, especially for a team like Frank Esports that kind of, they're very clean in the early game. They often build up that lead, but sometimes they struggle with closing it out. And having something very obvious to play towards, like just the dragon win condition, I think is a big win, honestly, for both of these teams.
Top lane, sort of back to normality for now. And as you kind of said, I think Talia will have an easier time in these team fights. Although there is a lot of lockdown, I don't feel like you're going to accomplish an awful lot by using them on the Talia with how strong the rest of the team is getting. I think one saving grace here for CFO is a fair amount of that gold is on Kaiwing instead of someone else like Pretender or Hollow. So that is something that is going to help them a little bit, but you're just sort of bleeding in every lane now, as well as those dragons. It's going to be so hard to come back.
I wonder where the comeback potential comes from. I think you do have really strong setup with Annie Vi, but that does only get you 1 kill, or maybe 2, right? If you can get on the right person, maybe it's good. Eminem's a pretty hard target because he does have the cleanse, but if you can get Pretender, Hollow, or Solo kill, that could be a good pickup. At the same time, does it end up winning you the game off it or getting you a major objective? I'm not sure. Maybe if you can pick it up right before drag. Ooh, he spotted on the sweeper.
Yeah, will land the root, but doesn't go over the wall with that ability, unfortunately. But I guess fortunately for Gemini.
Shun, I feel like, has kind of just ended up with the game on his back. Jimmian, I don't think scales well enough to kind of 1v9 it. You're kind of expecting Annie to be that big threat in the mid game, but you know, starting the mid game at such a big deficit, it's almost difficult for her to actually find the impact she normally would, especially against a champ like Xayah, right? That is just very hard to kill.
Yeah, Hollow looking mid here. Will he land the root? No, just goes for that Q. And I feel like CFO, if sort of Shun can find himself some items, find himself some golds in time to contest sort of these last, well, I guess he won't have much in time for next Dragon, but maybe in time for the fourth one. He does have a lot of peel around him, right? Like, you don't have to be using Vi-ult to engage, especially if, I mean, you don't have that high of a chance to kill the stopwatch Taliyah or the, you know, Xayah with ult. As we see Jimmy in here is getting run upon, but will just get out.
Very close to being forced into using the flash here. Rest, though, will be forced off the tower, especially I think Gemini just showed in bot side. So this tower should be picked up eventually by Solo Kill. Second Herald as well. Looks like it'll go the way of Frank Esports.
Rest does get back to his wave, and
ooh, Frank Esports might have overreached here.
yeah, Solo Kill in a peculiar position. Is able to use that Q to sort of get out of range of Jimmy and in that Tibbers. Herald will reset. You see, do they come back to look for it? It doesn't appear so. I mean, very good by CFO to sort of realize what's going on, go challenge it, and understand that they have that ability, especially because you have to say Solo Kill overextended a bit by diving over that tower.
Gold is picked up, and that's Xayah that picks up the first tower, which is pretty important. A lot of gold put onto her, which is nice because she hasn't managed to pick up any kills yet, has Eminem on the Xayah. So, a nice gold injection for sure, and the mid tower doesn't quite fall. Shun can't quite match. I'd be really interested to see the ADC gold difference, given that it's just 2 assists and a couple of plates.
Man, Jimmy playing with fire there a little bit. Excuse the pun on that one.
Skywing trying to sweep out some of this vision. You have to think, though, that the next fight will be in just 1 more minute at this third dragon. It's only a 2k gold lead or deficit here for CFO, so certainly not unwinnable, but I think the early game items coming through from Frank Esports make it very difficult to contest, right? Blade of the Rune King on the Aurelia. You got the Black Cleaver here on, what's his name, on Viego, and also Rod of Ages is at 6 stacks for Pretender, so definitely scaled and ready to fight here. Shun hasn't picked up the BT second yet either. So I think as CFO, it might be best to give this one up.
Yeah, it's hard to see how they're going to match the current 5v5 from Frank. Although, I mean, do you get enough items in time for that 4th dragon? Obviously, you'll get a little bit more. But there is also the possibility that this Aurelia is just going to be able to take over the side lanes in that time. Does look like she'll be going shield bow. I mean, from Noon Quiver that is, and Vamp Scepter, that is almost certainly what will come through here, and she will be so strong in these side lanes after that.
Dragon is now up, and Frank Esports, they're the ones that have control. CFO, they do Herald mid, and that should be the mid tower going down, but third dragon is the prize here. If CFO can pick it up, they can delay this game pretty significantly.
Solo Kill finding a really good flank here at the moment.
Yeah, he's not spotted on vision. Oh, the wall just comes out. Looks like third drag will just be picked up. Frank Eagle's trying to engage.
Solar Flare does land slightly onto Slay True, but should be fine to walk away as Rift Herald does claim mid tower.
Just a one-man Renato.
Yeah, Zenith Blade in, followed by the stopwatch. Solo Kill lands a 2-man ult, but has just been instantly violted and will be taken down. That cease and desist getting a lot done.
So it is the third drag picked up by Frank Esports, but I think they really mis-executed off the back end of that. And that's something that we always bring up about Frank Esports. They're very good at these early game leads, but they're just not as good at closing out games, at winning those team fights as some of the other teams are. And while they do get the third drag, they give a lot of gold back over to the side of CFO. It was really weird by Frank Esports. They had already picked up the drag through using the Taliyah ult to actually force so much afterwards. So they Leona ult while there's no follow-up, right? The wall is still even in the way. And despite the fact that cooldowns have already been used, Frank Esports still try and find something here. I just don't really think there's a way in. Solo Kill, I mean, here we see the peel coming out of CFO, right? Has just so much lockdown. Solo Kill is taken down inside that CC chain. It's actually pretty close to being able to pick up a kill.
Yeah, it was very close, and especially with this build, you feel like if you're in these team fights as that Aurelia and you get locked down, you are just going to die really quickly. Doesn't really have that much survivability. Shield bow will offer a real slight amount once that's completed, but definitely overplaying what was possible there and giving over some very important gold. And it does go to Shun on the Ophelio, so exactly where CFO would want it to be.
Very true. I think in that fight, Shun obviously gets the kill, but he also got that mid lane tier 1 and tier 2. So a lot of gold injected into him. Wouldn't be surprised to see him pick up the BT or the tier 2 boots and some components. Actually just goes straight for the IE. He did have overheal, so I'm expecting that he goes for BT later on. But just a straight IE second, it's a big power spike.
Yeah, Gemini is here. Solo kill does have to be careful. Does do the damage reduction before that Viol hits, fortunately. Is he able to sustain enough? No. 2 teleports work. Oh, sorry, 1 teleport there by Jimmy and committed. And Solo kill just finds himself dead in the side lane again. Overplaying his hand again. Thought it was just the straight 1v1. But Gemini, cease and desist will find him.
Another much-needed kill, this time on a Jimmy, who is going to get closer to his Rabadons. If he can get that before 4th Dragon, there is a real chance that CFO actually not only contest 4th Drag, but win the 4th Dragon fight, which would completely turn the game on its head. And Solo kill, after he found that early game lead, really needs to kind of avoid these random deaths, because it's starting to give the game back to CFO. Jimmy, he has a flank.
Have to be careful here, Jimmy, and nice work on the feathers there, but will have to run away. Tibbers obviously is committed, and he importantly gets that sort of cooldown away from Zaya by keeping Flash, as rest is very low here in the bottom lane. But as I was saying, I think the cooldown on Zaya ults is roughly 2 minutes, and I'm sure Tibbers must be lower than that, so I think overall definitely a positive trade. We'll be still able to look for this Flash Tibbers in the upcoming Dragon fight.
Eminem does have Cleanse, though. I wonder if Jimmy can complete his Rabadons before this 4th Drag. It's only in a minute and a half, but if you can complete it, it's so big. It's actually farming the top wave right now, so I'm imagining he's trying to get just that last little bit of gold. And with those key spikes coming in on your carries, this is kind of the turning point. Oh, Rest?
Yeah, Rest is found.
I think he was in shop. Didn't even notice. Now, he is going to be up for the drag, and it's doesn't look like, I guess they'll lose the bot tier 2. Rabadons is completed for Jimmy as well.
And bot tier 2 going over to Aurelia, if she does have enough gold for the shield bow already, picking up that extra 600 might give her enough for a stopwatch. I wouldn't be surprised to see her pick that up. Or even a red pot, honestly. This next fight could truly determine the game. So I think either one of those items give you so much raw power for so little gold.
I really want to see just a well-executed fight from Frank Esports. It feels like you are still in control of the game. Sure, the CFO carry spikes have come through, but it's not like you're weak by any means, right? You've all got 2 items now as well. Although they are most likely giving up the control and taking control back from Jimmy and Zanny here, level 15. It's going to be pretty tough. Solo kill pathing towards top and does not have TP ready quite yet, although it's very soon.
Yeah, and perhaps just sort of giving off pressure to try and get Solo kill up to this tower. Maybe look to teleport in as it comes available in the next sort of, I mean, you can't really tell, but I'd say it's 20 seconds at most.
CFO looks like they're going to try and make sure there's no Baron for Dragon Trade. They want to at least try and ward out or discourage that from happening. If you commit too many members to the bot side here as CFO, can just end up getting Talia walled off the Baron, and it goes down very quickly.
And as Frank, you are happy to trade this Dragon for that top inner. Obviously, you still have another 3 attempts after this one to look for that soul. Although are positioning to walk in here. Kaiwing very far ahead of the rest of the team. Jimmy got a nice flank. Does miss Tibbers, unfortunately, as a team fight absolutely erupts. Hollow is dead immediately. Kaiwing in the middle. Solo kill finds a nice flag onto Shun, who will go down. And now you've really got to deal with Solo kill. What can they do? Annie goes down there in the middle. You've only got Rest and Slay True. Gemini in the pit will get the smite, importantly, on Dragon, but what does it cost?
Oh, so low health bars just across the board here, and
Eminem will flash. There is supportal combat yet again here.
I think he's good. He is. Now, can this be Baron picked up? There's pings on it. I'm not sure they can, though, but I want to say still big win for Frank Esports. Solo kill pretty much single-handedly salvaged that fight. It looked pretty bad to begin with. But while the Dragon wasn't picked up, they managed to trade, I think, 4 for 1 or 4 for 2. So it does end up being slightly better than for them. At the same time, CFO arguably got what they want. They did buy more time for Shun to keep scaling. And that is a potential win condition here.
Certainly is, and he's obviously looking to head here towards that Bloodthirster, which will appear well with his runes, but does appear to be quite a wee way off that. But now after that team fight and how much gold got put into this Aurelia, it's going to be so hard for if she ever decides she's going up into a side lane. What do you do against her?
This fight looked completely doomed from CFO's perspective, or from Frank Esports' perspective, but Solo Kill manages to find Shun off the back end here, takes away a lot of CFO's DPS. After that, it's pretty much just all burst, and they have the health bar still to survive the burst. Then after the second carry is picked up there, while Gemini is able to come back in and smite away the drag, there just really isn't any damage remaining. And I think that is the thing with CFO's comp, is that once you run out of that burst, it really is just Shun. Live game though, Frank Esports, it's really low.
Yeah, Gemini does go for that steal, but will just die. And you have to run away here as CFO. Really happy as Frank Esports to pick up that Baron. I wonder what led to that.
Like, yeah, I'd like to see that too. I think they just kind of, Talia ult was not used? No, it wasn't used. So, is this the Dragon team fight, I'm guessing? It must be the Dragon team fight from before, right? Almost 6,000 damage on the Aurelion. Actually, 0 from Hollow. Not sure how that
he got immediately killed at the start there. It was basically a 4v5, although obviously some cooldowns were used onto Hollow. As Hollow's looking here, nice wall. Will it cut anyone off? It will cut Rest off, but more importantly, it will allow Frank to attack this tower.
Oh, Ronaldo causes Eminem to chunk out Hollow pretty significantly. Looks like they are going to break this mid-tier 1 that's been eluding them for so long. I think Frank Esports, though, this is just picking up the Baron in terms of gold is already a big win, right? You now find yourself 7,000 gold up, which I feel like is not as big as it looks when you have Frank Esports, right? They're not the best at closing out games, as we've seen before, but 7k gold lead is pretty hard to throw, as well as, like you said, they have so many chances with this Dragon Soul. Even if they mis-execute a couple times, have to feel like CFO have to play kind of perfectly from here on out just to kind of stop losing. Also, healing cut picked up by Pretender on the Talia. And no healing reduction as of yet, I believe. Oh, there is actually the Thornmail on the Gnar. But not the easiest to apply, right? Compared to something like the Putrefier or the Morello. It's much harder to apply that. And now with the BT on the Xayah, Shieldbow Borg, as well as just a Viego, I'm not even sure if this healing cut from Rest is worth it, just given that it feels difficult to apply.
Yeah, maybe was thinking. I mean, he got the Thornmail, well, at least the Bramble Vest quite early on in the game, trying to, you know, have a bit more peace in the 1v1. Obviously, I guess that doesn't make sense. You're always going to be losing there.
It's strange. Frank Esports, they're taking back a lot of control now. 1 minute on the drag. And CFO, what do you do here? Because Baron is going to be... They're going to be Baron up waves pretty much until Dragon spawns. So it's going to be really hard for you to actually retake any kind of control around this bot side jungle. Maybe try and find a pick beforehand. If they can get one pick, you know, they can put the fight in a pretty good spot. Talia once again just used to zone off the tower. I really like just how often it's being used. A lot of the time I think Talia, you know, just sits on cooldown for a very long time. Doesn't end up being used, but Pretender saying, I can just get this consistent value off it time and time again, and it's looking good. 30 more seconds here. It's Ocean Dragon as well. I think one of the worst dragons to give over, especially if you don't have a significant amount of healing reduction already.
Yeah, almost every sum will be up for this fight, although importantly, Eminem's flash it might just be up or it might not quite be, but same as Rest. So almost certainly we'll have 10 summoners up and available.
Solo Kill's going to keep pushing top.
Yeah,
CFO,
someone does have to answer that, but...
Yeah, I mean, they can just give over the drag and try play for time to let Solo Kill keep splitting. Looks like that's going to be the play.
Vi does get the dragon as a fight does look like it's happening. We do engage onto... Jimmy in, who does go down. Rest now in a very peculiar situation is have to flash back, and we've traded sides of the map.
Ooh.
Solo kill looking.
I think they're in trouble.
Flash does land that ult onto Slaytrue, followed by a double stun. Will pick up Slaytrue there as Pretender getting very low, but Archangels is popped and Shun goes down as well. Are they able to push for the end? You have to feel like they have a chance. Maybe just look for 2 inhibs.
Ooh, Rest gets out. There is TP from Pretender, but I guess he's going to push and then maybe base TP. It might just be a double inhib angle. Look at the damage though. So much coming in from both the ADCs. Pretty crazy fight. That was really back and forth. I'm surprised that Frank Esports didn't just have solo kill keep going top and try and delay the bases, but perhaps thought it was just a bit too risky and kind of just unnecessary. Can they get any more here? The death timers are pretty low, but with Shun, the kind of consistent DPS still dead. Another Talia wall. Really like the usage here from Pretender. 2 inhibs are secured. Dragon Soul, though, has been stopped. CFO once again managed to secure the Dragon. Taking a look at the replays, so in the meantime, solo kill's pushing top. The Dragon has kind of failed to steal away. Jimmy's engaged on, taken out really, really early. I thought from this point that solo kill would just keep pushing, but he actually TPs in very, very early. And it turns out pretty well. He has a great flank. I'm not even sure they know he TP'd in, but certainly know now, but find themselves, you know, kind of in the enemy's jungle, unable to really go anywhere else. Also, I think real nice stopwatch there by solo kill initially, just to make sure you don't get burst down at the start. And Shun does a lot of damage, but it really just isn't enough when your front line is kind of just gone like that.
And you have to feel like Frank Esports will likely pick up this Baron, which is spawning in 33 seconds. I don't really see a way you stop this as CFO. I mean, Frank doesn't even have to necessarily take this Baron. They can kind of just let the minions push in. I mean, Pretender, if you ever overextend, Pretender can also teleport back to that base.
Yeah. I think... Ooh, okay, so Pretender's actually playing for the gank on bot side. Perhaps just a counter gank? Solo
kill overextending, will get engaged on, and he'll just go down, although great. It's not so simple. He does get onto Shun. He'll take Shun down in a 1v4. Manages to pick up a kill. Guardian Angel will be procced. We'll see if he can get out of this. Does have a lot of lifesteal. Manages to get out of that hostile takeover. Stun landed onto Slaytrue, who will go down, as will the Vi. Just resets over and over again, and we're seeing a lot of power out of this Aurelia.
I think that should be GG there. Massive play out of solo kill to not only pick up a kill in the 1v4, but pick up a couple more. Jimmy has flash, but really just doesn't have anywhere to go. Flashes away, he's going to try TP to the base, but it should be too little, too late. Look at the damage there. It was really just a 2v5. 8,000 damage from solo kill in the Aurelian. We're saying it's like a feast or famine pick. Red side last pick came out absolutely massive, and Frank Esports now, I believe, tie up second place. Is that right? 18-4?
Yeah, both teams are now second place tied. So we'll have to see what sort of happens in the rest of this week to see who gets that second position. Obviously, a hugely important win here for Frank in terms of those standings. And I have to say, there were a couple of mistakes there by solo kill in those early teams.